Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes, they're, for lack of better terms, gearing up. Gearing up to make a run in the back half of 2025. And I get it. A really frustrating and ugly loss Friday night against Louisville. There's still everything in front of this football team. There are not a lot of teams in the back half of October that can say they have a chance to beat every team in the country. I still firmly believe that Miami is one of those teams. Want to do a midseason, and I'm going to call it a stock report. I want to talk about some things that I'm buying stock in regarding this Miami team. I also want to talk about some things that I'm selling stock into, some things that you maybe want to see Miami clean up in the back half of 2025 to become the best version of themselves. And it's such an important conversation. It's really all that matters, right? When you want to go out and win a national championship, playing your best football in the winter, in December and January, it's imperative. Go back and look at Ohio State. They weren't perfect in 2024, but when they got into the playoffs, they were damn near perfect. What does Miami need to continue to do to get there is part of this conversation. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the Miami fans, hey, let it fly in the comment section. Players that you're buying stock in, players that you might be selling stock in as well. Let it rip. As always, appreciate you guys, the Miami fans. Whether we're talking recruiting, whether we're talking the portal, whether we're doing just some miscellaneous episodes like this, y'all know I have a blast talking this team. The amount of support has been awesome. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, what am I really buying stock in? I think we know we got a really legit wide receiver duo. And that was a conversation for a lot of Miami fans going into 2025 is, are we good enough around Carson Beck? It's not necessarily the players we thought it was going to be. I think a lot of Miami fans expected JoJo Trader to be that wide receiver one. We'll talk about guys that were selling stock, and JoJo Trader going to be on that list. Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels. I feel, and it's really important because go look at all the other elite teams across the country and go look at teams that have won national championships. They always have two guys that can really strike fear into an opposing defense. I think Miami has that with CJ Daniels and Malachi Tony, which brings up a different point. And that is Miami a little too reliant on those two pass catchers, and maybe they don't have enough answers. If you are a defense that can take away Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels, is Miami comfortable leaning on other pass catchers to move the football through the air? I think that is a very fair criticism to make. And we'll talk about some potential answers that we see for Miami going forward in 2025. But I'll say this, with how good Malachi Tony's playing, he's really hard to take away. You want to play man coverage. He's a guy that just he destroys man coverage. There are not many cornerbacks that can be sticky with Malachi Tony. If you want to throw zone coverage at this team, Malachi Tony's football IQ, like very similar to Xavier Restrepo, is off the charts, especially for how young this kid is. He's going to find the soft spot. He's going to find space. He's going to be presentable for Carson Beck. I really think Malachi Tony is emerging as a guy that is really freaking hard for opposing teams to take out of Miami's game plan. Number two, what I'm buying stock in, and this is a little bit of a buy low situation here, is this Miami defense. I think it's legit, and I think it proves to be legit as we go further into 2025. Go look at the numbers. 17.8 points per game allowed. That's 17th in the country. 4.6 yards per play allowed. That's 17th in the country. They're elite against the run, only giving up 3 yards per carry. That's top 15. The secondary has been very, very solid to start 2025. This is a defense that's legit. I get it. That first quarter against Louisville was tough. You got the Jeff Brom special. Like Jeff Brom coming off a bye, had some really unique plays, formations, and scheme to get to in that first quarter. I came away from that football game saying, I'm buying even more stock into Corey Heatherman. I thought Louisville had a great game plan to deal with Miami's pass rush and to deal with how aggressive that defense can be. The in-game adjustments that we saw from Corey Heatherman, we never got that from Lance Guidry last year. Miami hasn't really been forced to make a ton of in-game adjustments either. I mean, they've come out pretty much firing on defense every single week of this year. They had to make some adjustments against Louisville. They did so in a big way. This is such a solid defense at all three levels. I mean, you got some of the best defensive linemen in the country, Ruben Bain and company. I think you got really what I'll say are solid linebackers. I don't know if Miami's linebacker room is elite by any means, but I think it's a reliable, solid unit. And the secondary continues to be a unit that you trust in the back end. I'll give you one other name that I am buying all the stock I can get into is that's Keontae Scott. You talk about one of the biggest surprises. It's hard to find a nickel defender that's having a bigger impact on the defense than Keontae Scott. Now, I'll just read you the numbers. 29 tackles on the year. That is second on the football team. 7 tackles for loss. It's an elite number for a nickel corner. He's a guy that has 11 run stops on the year. That's also second on the team. He is sticky and competitive in coverage, really, really good at supporting the run. And one of the biggest storylines for Miami in 2025 is they knew they needed to hit on their transfer portal additions. Man, they did, especially in the back end. Here's the player I'm really buying stock, and I would love to hear from the Miami fans. Give me Armando Blunt. Give me all the stock I can get in Armando Blunt. Couple of different reasons. Number one, this kid plays really hard. Like good for Armando Blunt. He is not in his final form. Like this kid will continue to get better. Again, reclass guy should be a true freshman this year. He's going to continue to get better at the sport. He's becoming a guy that's hard to keep off the field with how hard he plays. That motor is absolutely insane on Armando Blunt, and he's easy to get on the field as well. Can do a lot of different things. On those third and obvious passing situations, you can have him play inside and be an undersized 3-tech pass rusher, good against a run out on the boundary. And you can tell Miami's buying stock into him too. The last 2 games, he's played over 30 plus snaps. It's hard to get on the field on this Miami defensive line. Like they don't want to take Ruben Bain. They don't want to take Akeem Mesidor off the field. They are figuring out ways to get Armando Blunt on the football field. That should excite a lot of Miami fans. I'm looking at Armando Blunt. I'm looking at Marquise Lightfoot and say, hey, what can they look like in the back half of 2025? Because they're both 2 different players, but they're both 2 players that seemingly are coming on in the back half of the year. All right, to the negatives. There are a few negatives, some things that have been disappointing, especially in that Louisville game. And I'll go with a general one off the bat, Justin Scott. Year 2 5-star defensive lineman. You felt like he was going to be really, really important to Miami's efforts on the defensive line, and he's just not getting a ton of opportunity. And there are a lot of, I don't think a lot of fans, but a lot of people that talk about that's Mario Cristobal's coaching. You got to get Justin Scott on the field more. I don't think so. It's like Mario Cristobal and this coaching staff, Jason Taylor and company, they know what these cats look like in practice. They're going to play the best players. The concern for me is Justin Scott's only played, 109 snaps to start 2025. I mean, Ahmad Moten and David Blay aren't really coming off the field, and I'll give Ahmad Moten and David Blay their flowers because both of them have been very, very good football players. Those are big bodies that you want to rotate a little bit more. And it just doesn't seem like Justin Scott is quite ready to play a more meaningful part in that rotation. He seems to me like a really important player to get going because you see the flashes. It's not like Justin Scott's a bad football player. I think it's probably a little bit more the consistency, right? Can we get him a little bit more involved in the rotation? Because not only can you get the best out of Justin Scott, that makes your defense better, but not having to play Ahmad Moten and David Blay 40 to 50 snaps a game, if you can keep them around 35 snaps a game, That's going to make them play better for the times they're out on the football field too. They don't have many guys outside of Justin Scott and Mod Moten and David Blade that they trust. That's been very clear. Dante Simpson's the next player who's played the most. He's only played 43 snaps on the year. A lot of that in some early season garbage time. We got to get Justin Scott going. But you kind of feel like you're selling stock because he just isn't getting on the football field that much. Here's another player, JoJo Trader, in the tight end usage, right? I mean, JoJo Trader just ain't ready, I don't think. I mean, he's barely getting on the football field, has struggled with some injuries. There's some, I don't want to talk much about the rumors off the field, but there's been some of that too. The thing I want to talk about more is the tight end usage, because I feel like this is something that's important to Miami. Back with how we started this episode, are we concerned about being really reliant on Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels? Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of concern. How can we ease those concerns? Well, you got a talented tight end room. I firmly believe that Elijah Lofton, if given more opportunities, can be a guy that can provide value. We're just not going out of our way to get these tight ends involved. I think that could be a really effective wrinkle for Shannon Dawson in this Miami offense in the back half of 2025, just to become a little multidimensional. And that's a storyline, because I'll go to the last thing I'm kind of selling my stock in or needing to see some improvement. Here's the running game feels a little stale. This Miami offense against Louisville, it felt like it was just a little bit of a stale offense, right? Miami's really good at doing certain things, and they want to lean into those certain things, but you need to have other answers. Like when I look at the run game, it's just so much. I mean, some gap schemes, some inside zone, but it's very often between the tackles. They don't run the football in a lot of different ways. If you want to be an offense that runs the football on almost 54% of offensive snaps, you have to run it in different ways. This is very clearly an offense that wants to lean in the run game, and they have a good offensive line. They have a deep running back room. They got all the ingredients to have a really good run game. But I'm looking at the run game right now saying 3.8 yards per carry. That's 93rd in the country. I feel like a large part of that, there are a lot of teams that just don't have good offensive lines, and so they can't run the football. You look at LSU, look at Oklahoma, you can't really fix that, right? For Miami, we know this offensive line is good, right? We need to find more creative ways to run the football. If we want to run the football as much as we do, we can't afford to be stale. The run game felt a little bit stale against Louisville, right? Linebackers kind of knew what holes to hit before Miami was even running plays. I mean, you were seeing running backs, or excuse me, opposing Louisville linebackers just slamming gaps because they kind of knew Miami's not run the football in a lot of different ways. In fact, the one time they went to that end around and Malachi Tony popped for a touchdown. If Miami wants to run the football against the best defenses across the country, which is the goal, because the goal is to make the college football playoffs, you have to have different ways you can run the football. And I'd like to see that more from Miami. There's plenty to be excited about. There's plenty to clean up. And that's a positive if you're a Miami fan, like plenty to clean up. You want more meat left on the bone, and there certainly is. This team can be dangerous. We just got to keep working to that final form. Those are some things that have been jumping out to me that I want to see Miami clean up. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.